Hello, tea family. How are you today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to be talking about a milk tea versus a tea latte. So, I wanted to just start off by saying welcome, hello. It's nice to see you again, and share in the comments or the chat your own hello and let us know what you're drinking today. Also, feel free to share and let me know, how did you like last week's series that I did on what was in my cup, where you had to kind of guess. This last week, I did a video every day of like what was in my cup, and I had 5 different ones. Gave you some fun facts and different things like that. So, did you anybody guess correctly? Did you get any of them? Let me know. Go ahead, put it in there so we can all congratulate you if you did. And so, again, as we go through today, we're going to be doing some different things, but feel free to put any questions you have in the chat or comments. My handy dandy assistant will be helping me watch the comments. I do look down frequently so that I can kind of look and see what's going on and let everybody know. Answer the question, see if there's any conversation going on, because I don't want to miss it. You're an important part of this every week, and so Andy Dandy Assistant says he got them all wrong last week. Goes to show you, I don't even tell him in advance what I'm doing sometimes. In fact, one of the ones that was super early in the morning, he was asleep for, so just saying. He was asleep. All right. Anyway, so say hello. Kim's drinking Aloha Breeze. She couldn't guess that fast. I get it. That's the other thing, is that I try and keep them really quick, little ones. So it is always fun to, you're on the clock on that one. So, all right. How about the fun facts? Did anybody know any of the fun facts? Were they interesting to you? Was that kind of cool? I've got more fun facts that we'll be talking about today when we get started. So what we're going to actually do is we are going to be doing the difference between a milk tea and a tea latte today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to brew some tea. And then today we're going to use Morning Irish. I could have used virtually any black tea blend that I wanted. Highland Dawn would have been good. Morning Irish breakfast blend, Serene Sunrise, the Highland Dawn. Any of them would have been great. I wanted to go with a Morning Irish. There's a couple of reasons for that. I wanted to go with something that had a really nice, bold taste to it, and something that would go really well either as a milk tea or a tea latte. Now, I've said this in the past. You can... Oh, the algorithm didn't show you the fun facts. That's sad. Oh, my goodness. Uh-oh. So one of the things that we'll be talking about is like the difference in how to make the teas and things like that. So we're going to go ahead. Now this is what our Morning Irish looks like. And you can see lots of really big leaves in there. It smells so bold too. Now, we are going to be putting a sweetener in our tea latte. So again, I wanted a bolder flavor. Now, I did do this a little bit different this time. Normally, you'll see me use my real reusable stainless steel infusers, but today I'm actually using tea bags, and there is a reason for that. If I could get my water handy dandy assistant, just because I want to be able to make 2 at the exact same time and not get them confused. So we're making Morning Irish today. It's our take on an Irish breakfast, so very bold. I'm also pouring these into 24 or 26 ounce cups. So I have definitely made more, added a little more tea, although you're also going to only see me fill it part way. And again, part of the reason for this is I wanted to use the clear cup so that you could see everything. If I could get 3 minutes on the clock, please. All right. There's so much to talk about. All right. So let's start with the easy question. What's the difference between a milk tea and a tea latte? They're both creamy. They're both comforting. They're not the exact same thing. I want you by the end of this video to know the difference between each and when you might want one and when you might want another. Plus, we're going to get into a little bit more of some latte flavors and different syrups and different things that you can do to add even a little bit more. So the handy dandy assistant doesn't steal yours. Yes, he will probably end up stealing one of them by the end of the night. It's just a matter of which one I will get to drink. And it's not done yet. You can't steal it. And welcome, Serene Sunrise Hot. See, Diane's drinking my favorite for me tonight. All right, so morning Irish. I really love the boldness of it. And most of the time when we're drinking these, we're drinking them in the morning. Diane said she was late tonight due to a huge spider on her trash can. Diane, it's time to buy a new trash can. Tell Rob to get rid of that one. It's no longer. It can't be used again. You cannot touch it. It had a spider on it. I 100% will back you up on that. No spiders. We don't do this. Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie finally got her comment section to pop up. Yes, she's like, where are you moving to, Diane? Like, no, like the spider, that's it. That's what we call it. No. All right, everybody, let's get back to tea. I don't want to even think about those 8-legged creatures anymore. All right, so we're brewing our morning Irish tea. So let's talk about the basics between a milk tea and a tea latte. Number one, a milk tea is a tea that you brew regularly, typically a black tea, but it could be an oolong, a green tea, even an herbal, and it's mixed with tea. Now, in Britain, the tradition is you put the milk in first, then you put the tea in. We know in the States, it is tea and then milk, but the tea is the absolute star of the show on this one. The milk is really there to kind of smooth out those bold flavors, add a little creamy note. These are going to also be classics like a Thai tea, a Hong Kong milk tea, even the bubble tea. So, you know, the tea with the tapioca or the bubbles and things in it. The tea latte, on the other hand, is going to usually be brewed stronger. It can often be made from a tea concentrate. And it is combined with steamed milk and topped with foam. But this is one you'll also look at more balancing out the flavor between the tea, the milk, and then whatever syrups or sugars you want with it. You're looking more of a velvety latte texture. So I did mention Hong Kong milk tea. In Hong Kong, milk tea is sometimes strained through a sackcloth bag, and that is where it got the name silk stocking tea. Not at one point, I'm sure they used silk stockings. Now that's just what it's called. I'm pulling out my tea bags. They will be reused. All right. I'm just going to put it here. You'll keep them like that so we know which is which. Okay. I did brew my latte a little bit stronger today than my regular, so just FYI. Now, the silk stocking tea, because putting it through that extra filtering gives it a really silky finish. Another fun fact for you, the London Fog, which is an Earl Grey tea latte, typically made with a vanilla syrup, was actually invented in Vancouver, Canada, not Great Britain, and it was invented in the 1900s. It is now a global favorite, and you will find it all over the world. So interesting. All right. Hey. Hello, Vicky. Welcome. All right. So those are two different. So let's look, and we're going to actually let it cool for just a second. Now, this is going to be, we'll just make this one my milk tea. And I had to look. Yep. Could I just get the white with some milk in it? I forgot to prep. I prepped everything else except the milk. Sorry, everybody. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the flavor, the texture, and history while my handy dandy assistant is very quick. I'm going to probably need a little bit more milk than that. Just like he put 10 drops in, I swear. All right. Thank you. All right. So the milk tea is going to be lighter more tea flavor, whereas a tea latte is going to be creamier cafe style because of the steamed or froth milk. So one of the things I want to talk about, like a bubble tea or the boba tea, that was actually discovered by accident when tapioca pearls were dropped into a milk tea during a food experiment. Now it is a $2 billion with a B dollar global industry. Who would have thought on that one? Happy mistakes sometimes. Happy mistakes. Tea lattes, another fun fact, tea lattes were not common until coffee shops started adopting them from coffee drinks for tea lovers. Right now, the number one tea latte is a matcha latte, especially since a lot of the bigger change, the matcha tea is the powdered, where it's just the ground up tea leaves. It's easier to store. You don't have to worry about as many things, and so you'll find a lot of matcha tea lattes across your widely known coffee chains. So, but it is also the one that is growing the biggest in cafe orders worldwide for obvious reasons. Okay, so we've made our tea. We're going to make this one our milk tea, and all I have to do is add a little bit of milk, and we are good. And I can say cheers. It is so good. Oh my goodness. All right. So when we want to talk about a latte, a couple of things. I've made lattes on here before. I do them periodically. They're fun. They're easy to make. But I typically don't do a lot with the syrups. Now, a lot of people, and when you go into the shops, the tea shops, the coffee shops, when they're doing a tea latte, a lot of times they're adding the sugar in. At this point, I would add, I could add a little bit of sugar if I wanted it sweetener, and then I could add my foam on top. And I've done that where then you see the layer, you see the foam, and then you see where it's mixed, and then you see the tea at the bottom. I love that 3-layer effect. It's so much fun. But typically, the latte is actually we're going to take the milk. Is it warm? Okay, perfect. If I could so you want your milk for a latte to be about 140 degrees. That is the ideal temperature for both the foam part as well as when you want to make all those really cool foam designs. I am not that talented. I know people that are that talented, but I am not that talented. So, all right. And that's why we have a hot pad underneath. Okay. So all you see here is this is hot milk. I don't know, can you see the steam coming off of that? See, there you go. You should see some steam coming off that. And then this is just my frother. And all I'm trying to do is make this a nice little foam. But the temperature is important to the milk and the foam. I want to mention that, but okay. I've used your extracts and added them to the milk while I was heating it up, and they made my lattes yum. That is one of the ways you can do it, Stephanie. That is absolutely a way you can do it. You can go ahead and you can see. Yeah, can you see this? Like it is right at the top and it's going over. It is now dripping because I have a great foam. I will say there's a placemat under this napkin, everybody, because we all know I'm going to make a mess. All right. No, we're good. Now, I am going to add something that I don't normally add. So you do your foam up like that, and look at that. Let's see if you guys can really, I can get the camera to, I don't want to pour milk on the laptop. That would be really, really bad. All right. So I did make a syrup today. I made a vanilla syrup. And all I did was take a little pan, equal parts sugar and water, and you just dissolve the sugar in the water. Now, that is a typical simple syrup. You could even add a couple of drops of vanilla, which is what I did. I did make a vanilla syrup. And then you just heat it up, melt it. But if you're watching, like, I'm not necessarily watching my sugar, but I don't eat a lot of sugar. I didn't add, you know, 2 teaspoons of sugar in here and 2 teaspoons of water. I put about a half a teaspoon of sugar in here and I put a little over a tablespoon of water. So I made it really not very sweet. But that's one of the great things about when you make a tea latte, you can add the correct amount of sugar and flavors. Extracts are great if you want to add some little flavor, but you add them at the end. So you get it all dissolved and then you start to let it cool. And then you add a couple of drops of the extract right to the mixture, the simple syrup. The reason is you don't want to burn off the flavor. So you want to do it that way. But you can make lavender syrup, or you could do an orange syrup, or you could do a pumpkin spice syrup, whatever you want. And there are syrups that you can buy out there at the store to make whatever kind of tea latte you want. Typically here we make everything from scratch for one reason or another, mostly because I can control everything that's in it, like how much sugar. Do I want a heavier amount of vanilla? Do I want a lighter vanilla? That sort of thing. So that's all I did. Just took a little pan, put a little sugar in there. You could even do honey and do like a honey simple syrup. So you make your simple syrup, add some of the other flavoring from an extract. If I wanted to, I could add a couple drops of lavender extract. But let's say you didn't have lavender extract. I happen to have some at my house because one of the other things we have at shows is it's not through our online store, but we do sell baking extracts at our events. And so I have lavender extract. I have 14 or 15 different extracts that I could use in here. But if you don't, you could, this is where you could add just a couple little bits of the lavender in here, or cherry blossom, an edible cherry blossom, or you could put in whatever flavoring. Be careful if you're going with like a peppermint extract or a peppermint oil. So a lot of times it'll be called peppermint extract, but it's really a peppermint oil. You're going to really want to be careful because with the oils, it's really strong really quick. So you're going to have to figure that out. All right. And so I made just a simple little vanilla extract, and you'll see, let's see if I can pour this so you can see. There you go. It doesn't really change the color of my tea latte. Now you do want to typically add your sweetener. If you're going to add regular sugar, or you're going to add a sweetener in, I do it while it's hot so that it goes through. We're not doing a shrimp extract. No, anything like that. All right. Then we have 2 options. I've done the pouring. One of the things I really love to do with my foams is I just love to just kind of drop it on the top. And you can see 140 degrees. I've got a really great foam. Can't really tell much. But it's just a nice little milk foam. It's going to go to the top. I like to spoon it on because it's fun to watch it melt. If I pour, it will typically mix faster. It'll also cool my tea faster. So if you are desperate to have that tea and you don't want to wait, there you go. And you don't need a ton of milk. Like, look, most of the milk is still in here. So, okay. So that's the difference between a milk tea, which is just tea where you've added milk, and a latte tea latte where you've made it a little bit more. Now, the difference in flavor, one is going to be lighter and smooth, where the tea in the milk tea, the tea is still the number one component. The tea latte, because of the foam, it's going to have a creamier, almost cafe style to it. So let me. Now, oh, so good. If you wanted to make an iced milk tea, you would take and make this tea, just a regular tea. You would add your milk to it, and then I would make a double batch, and then I would I would make some, but then I would add. You could add ice cubes to it if you don't want it to. And the reason why I would make a double batch is I would put ice cubes in the first one, and then I would, in an old-fashioned ice cube tray, pour after it cools, the second half of it. After it cools, put it in the ice cube tray, freeze it. The next time I have an iced milk tea, I can drop ice cubes that are made from that, so then it doesn't water it down at all. Let's see. Now, when I go to, no foam art here, but now I can add another flavor. So one of the flavor layers that I have is the tea. The next flavor layer I have is any syrups that I may add for different flavors. I could add a chocolate syrup in here and have a chocolate. I could add a caramel syrup in here and have that. So like really start to think, hey, what other flavors am I introducing to my tea latte? The next thing you have is the foam. That's your third level of flavor. And then I could even sprinkle some cinnamon on top or some shaved chocolate on top, some peppermint, some lavender. You could put something on top of your foam. And when that happens, you've got another layer of flavor for it. So it's one of the interesting things is that these are both basically, if I added the syrup to this one, they would be made the exact same way, but they're still going to taste different because your taste buds actually perceive the same sugar that I could use across the board differently depending on whether the drink is hot or iced or whether I have I've got the foam or not. It changes the flavor a little bit. So your tea latte, even if I just had it with a teaspoon of sugar in it and I added that before I added the milk foam, and I'd had the same teaspoon of sugar in this one, the ingredients all the same, but they're going to taste slightly different. So when I take a sip of this, man, wow, I get hit with I add, so remember how small my pan was, and I said it was 1 teaspoon or a half a teaspoon of sugar and a tablespoon, a little over a tablespoon of water. I added 1 drop with a dropper of vanilla. So now when I taste the tea latte, I get a hint of vanilla filled in. Well, it's a creamy vanilla filled in with the tea flavor and then balanced off with the creaminess of the milk. The milk foam creaminess, the vanilla and the tea all kind of have an equal say in the flavor. Whereas my milk tea is the major component, and then it's got a little creaminess afterwards. So it's just a little bit different. But again, I can completely change how I do these things. So let's talk about some of these syrups, because this is where your lattes and those coffee shops or those tea shops really become fun and interesting for you to try. So we did a vanilla syrup in with our morning Irish. So just a straight Irish black tea blend, right? An Irish breakfast. But if I had an Earl Grey and I added vanilla syrup, I'm going to be, that's how you make a London Fog. Very smooth and cozy. If I added a lavender syrup, it would have been a Lady Earl Grey tea latte. If I had a caramel syrup and then I had a breakfast blend or a straight black tea blend, that's going to be a caramel black tea latte. It's kind of going to be very much more like a dessert in the cup, where the caramel and the tea and the milk again are all going to have even notes. If I used a lavender syrup and a green tea, even like an Emerald Garden or an Ancient Green Dragon, I'm going to get like a floral latte that's going to have hints of floral notes as well as the tea notes in there. And then again, you can take any of the chais. It's almost season. It's almost that season for the pumpkin spice syrup. For those of you that buy it, I did make it for Rich once instead, and it was and he loved it. It tasted delicious. But you could add that in any chai blend, and you've got like a really fall favorite kind of thing. The other thing I would say is you could do a honey syrup and something like the jasmine green tea, the Ancient Green Dragon, or even our Emerald Garden, just a straight green tea blend. And you're going to have something that's a very gentle, calming, slightly sweet tea latte. Now, I see we've got questions. How did I know Kim would be drinking Aloha Breeze? Kim loves Aloha Breeze. It is one of her favorite tea blends. Okay. Could you use coconut sugar for the simple syrup? Yes, yes, you can, if you're not allergic like I am. But absolutely, you could use whatever sweetener. I've made honey simple syrups for the mocktails before where I put, equal teaspoon of honey. I use my Remy Bees honey and then I use water, or I use an infused Remy Bees honey and I use a little water. But you could also use, you could absolutely use a coconut sugar without a problem. Okay, and apple tea and caramel. Yes, Stephanie, that is absolutely something you can do. And that's why I actually have to start making some caramels, because one of the things that we do is we make the caramel puffs. We do freeze-dried caramels so that you can literally, you get a nice little puff ball and you put it on your tea, and then when it dissolves in your tea, it adds just a hint of sweetness from the caramel puff, and it adds a caramel flavor. And they are very popular in the fall into the holiday season, and it's perfect with a peeling, which a week from today is August 31st. Everybody ready for that? A week from today is August 31st. So we've got 1 week left to get Summer Kiss, our peach green tea, and then a week from tomorrow on September 1st, a peeling is back. So I just wanted to say, we're that close. We are literally 8 days away from having a peeling tea back. And we're also looking at bringing in our caramel puffs earlier this year. So they'll be available at our local events starting mid-September. If things go well, if things go poorly with calendars, it'll start the end of September. So we'll either kick it off when we're at the Cider Days in Topeka or at the Wimmy Diddle in Garden City area. I forget exactly, like Lake Scott area, wherever the Wimmy Diddle is. So let's see. Hazelnut is my favorite nut besides Handy Dandy Elder. Yes, hazelnut is a great one if you want to add some complexity to your tea latte. That is a great one. Kendra's been drinking peppermint iced tea. Yes, if you wanted to, instead of adding sugar to your tea, Kendra, absolutely, you could make a vanilla syrup. It's super easy. I mean, it's literally just dissolve some sugar in water and then add a drop or two, depending how big your batch is, of vanilla extract, and you've got it. And you would have a nice vanilla note to it. Let's see. Am I cozy in a cup? So the cozy in a cup will probably come in October, Stephanie. For those of you who aren't familiar, cozy in a cup, or cuddle in a cup, is basically a chocolate tea latte. We use Serene Sunrise tea because it gives a hint of cinnamon with the black tea. And we brew that in milk. We drain the tea out. Then we add some chocolate to it and mix it in and make a hot chocolate. So it's kind of like a hot chocolate tea latte. And we introduced that last year when we went to a chocolate festival as one of our, had to make something chocolate themed. And it sold out. It became extremely popular. So yes, that will be back. Okay. Have I missed anything? Handy Dandy Assistant, have I missed any questions? I feel like I missed questions. Yep, the caramel puffs are fun. The thing is, we have to make them. So again, because we use all organic, non-GMO ingredients, we make the caramels ourselves, and then we have to put them in our freeze dryer. So that way we make sure that there's no preservatives. They are not something that ships well, which is why they're really restricted to local. I have tried a couple of times to send some to my eldest child, who loves them and loves tea in Georgia. But I'm always like, that's halfway across the country. If I can get it there safely. And every time she's like, Mom, it just didn't work out. I mean, they still tasted good, Mom, but it wasn't the same effect. So we've just made the decision that those are not a shipping item. That's something you're going to have to be local for. But yes, if you that's the thing is when I make a peeling for myself, it has a little bit of hint of the sweetness already in it because you have freeze-dried apples. Then I'm adding that caramel puff, and that has a little bit of sugar in it as well. You don't get very much because the puffs. So each puff is technically half a centimeter cube. So we have a pan. When we make the caramel, we cut it in 1 centimeter blocks. Then we cut each one of those in half and then lay them out and space them on the freeze dryer. And then they become a puff that's about this big. I mean, it's about the size of a golf ball, I would say. Sometimes a little bigger, sometimes a little smaller, but roughly the size of a golf ball. And that is literally the equivalent of a half of a centimeter cubed of a caramel. So you're really not adding a lot of sugar. You're really not adding, a lot of calories or anything like that. But you do get a lot of caramel flavor in there, and boom, it just drops into drop it right into the tea. I will be doing that not next week. It won't be next week. We're doing something special next week though. But sometime in September, I will have the caramel puffs and I will show you what it looks like for those of you that haven't done. But they add a little bit of caramel note to it and it matches really well with the black tea and the apple and the cinnamon. So I'm excited. I'm not excited about, okay, I love fall. It's my favorite season, but I really personally, I need a little more summer. I need about another 2-3 weeks of summer. I know that some of my friends like Vicky would hate having another 2 or 3 weeks of summer. She's like, bring on winter. But I need just a little more summer before we turn to fall. So, but yes, a week from tomorrow, a peeling comes out, and I can't believe we're already there. The apple tea is always super, super popular. All right. So good. You get the vanilla, and you can see how I've got the different layers. I just love that look, and you get that when you spoon it on. Yet we're not doing Christmas decorations. I'm not even allowing myself fall decorations in my house until September. September 1st. I can't put the fall decorations up until September 1st. That's my hard line on that one. And then typically sometime Thanksgiving weekend, we move from fall into Christmas. And then sometime between Christmas and New Year's, we move to our winter stuff. So like, see, I'm not, I don't know. Anyway. All right. Stephanie asked who pumpkin spice, caramel, apple, yum. See, Kendra, me too. I am not a huge pumpkin spice. However, I will tell you, I know I said it, I think it was at our Brew and Buy live sale. I did share that one of the things, she's decorating for fall this week. One of the things that we are working on for next year is a pumpkin spice tea blend. We do have a lot of people that ask for them. We've started to look into different ways to try and make that happen. Our biggest problem is I can't do any experiments until the pie pumpkins come in. We don't want to use a puree because if we use a puree and we freeze dry it, it's going to crumble. And we don't do the powders. So one of the things that we have to do is figure out, all right, so we'll have to freeze dry the pumpkin. How can we cook the pumpkin enough so that when we freeze dry it, it will be appropriate, but then also so that you will be able to get it in the tea. So when you brew for multiple brews, so like, it's going to be a bit. I have to wait till the pie pumpkins come in. But if you all want to let me know, if you want to send me a text or an email or something, let me know as soon as the pie pumpkins come in. Since I'm not always the one that does the grocery shopping, let me know. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the syrups. We were talking about the syrup. So one of the fun things about the syrups when you add it to your tea, the syrups were actually created to mask the bitterness in the early coffee houses in Europe, excuse me. Now they're just an important part of the tea lattes and your regular coffee lattes and everything like that. So that is the fun thing to know, is like, it was originally because the coffee houses were making the coffee blends so bitter that they needed that sweetness of the syrup to balance. But we've talked about, like, you really don't have to buy syrups. They're pretty easy to make. If you have a flavor of syrup or a simple syrup that you don't know how to make, reach out to me. I have probably 20 or 21 different flavors that I could very easily help you create with ingredients that you most likely already have in your home. So you know, obviously if it's pumpkin spice, you'd need pumpkin in your house, but most of them you probably have the ingredients in the house. So because a lot of them, it's cinnamon or it's ginger or it's vanilla or, you know, that sort of thing. So just some different things. I don't know which one I want to drink. I keep going back and forth. So I was talking about next week, right? One of the fun things is next week is a fifth Sunday. And so we were thinking we wanted to try and do something a little bit different. You know, the fifth Sunday is usually when I'll make a mocktail or I do something on that. But what we haven't done in a while is create a tea blend here together. So you all will put in the comments and we'll talk back and forth and we'll create a tea blend. We've done it a couple of times. One of the things that I will typically say is, if you would like to have, you know, we'll create the recipe ourselves. And if you really want to try it, let me know and we make that happen. But that's what we're going to be doing next week. So you need to think for a second and then put in the chat or the comments whether or not you think we should do a black tea, a green tea, an herbal tea, or an oolong. Diane, if you make a syrup with cacao and sugar, add vanilla, peanut butter, and cornflakes, you have a yummy treat. See? Peanut butter cornflake cookies. My husband knows that recipe for some reason. So that's what we're going to be doing next week. Let me know in the chat or comments, what kind of tea should we have as our base? That will help me know what ingredients to have out and ready, and for us to know what temperature our kettle needs to have the water at for when we create it. So the other thing to put in the chat or comments, are you a milk tea person or are you a tea latte person? It's okay if you're both. But I'm just interested which one we want to do. Which one are you on? Are you more of a milk tea kind of a person or a tea latte? And I have said more than once, when it comes to black teas and oolongs, I like milk tea. Oh, when it comes to, because I don't typically add milk into my green teas, or I don't have milk products with my green teas or my herbals. Although that's the other news I wanted to share with you. We have been refining the new recipe that we are looking to have for this holiday season. So Diane's a milk tea person. Stephanie's a latte. Kim's milk tea, she's like, frothing is a lot of work. You saw that though, Kim. It's really not. It's like, this was $6 or $7 on Amazon, and it's battery USB. I just charge it up, and so I don't even have to have batteries on it. And then you saw it does not take very long. I'm just gonna move that since I keep knocking it over. It did not take very long to froth the tea. So Kendra needs to come to my house, and then I'll make both for her to try. So that's one of those things. Okay. I love that. I love it. I love it. So she's right beside me. Love it. Love it. Love it. So that is one of the things that we'll be doing. And again, that's the fun. You don't have to make a tea latte all the time, but it's important to understand the difference. And there might be some time where you want to, hey, I want to play around with that. So I could do that appealing tea, that apple tea, and then I could add that caramel. Or I could add, but let's say I wanted to have a hazelnut flavor to that, knowing I could turn that into a tea latte, knowing how to do that, adding those flavors in. And that's where you could also do like this. If I took a sunset black, so black tea that has orange zest in it as well, and I wanted to do, uh, I might add as a tea latte, I might add an orange syrup in there, just a little bit of a vanilla orange syrup. Those are the kinds of things and the flavors that you can mix around and do fun, and that way you can have those different flavors without. Now, the holiday flavor that we've been working on is a plum tea, and we are actually considering. So here's where we are right now. We want to go with an apple plum tea, freeze dried apples, freeze dried plums, and then we're thinking either nutmeg or clove, just a little bit to balance off the sweetness. And then we're trying to decide: do we just leave it in herbal like that, so it's caffeine free? Do we put it in with a green tea? That would work even with a black tea. So, feel free to get your vote in. Let me know. As you all know, we are very responsive to what you all say because we're not quite decided. That's the route that we feel like we go. So we've tried the plum by itself. We've been trying the plum with some other different ingredients, but we really feel like the apple plum and then either clove or nutmeg. I'll tell you, I'm leaning towards nutmeg. Rich is leaning towards clove. But both are going to be like very holiday seasonal and add just that counterpoint to the sweetness. Let's see what I've got on here. Kim has a frother on her espresso machine, so she's just low maintenance. Nutmeg. Diane is saying nutmeg. Kim saying nutmeg. I just feel like it's just a hint of nutmeg, not a lot. We're not trying to make another chai blend. We're trying to make one that's something that'll bring out the apple and the plum. And whether we make it herbal or a green tea or a black tea, I don't know. We also need a name, people. Feel free to start putting out names. I know Domini, who's not here tonight, she typically watches at a different time. She's really good at naming teas, like really good at naming the teas. But the pebbles. So that's what we're doing. That was one of the things that I thought was pretty much exciting. And then we are working on that request from last time about the blueberry tea. We have a couple of possibility of experiments going on, but that will come later. It's a matter of you can only do so many things. And then speaking of you can only do so many things, I wanted to say thanks for the brew and buy. Everything has been shipped out. But yeah, sugar plum tea. So I was looking, and is this not the cutest box? I have no idea what's going to go in this box, but at our live sale that we have in November, this is definitely going to be there. Betsy says holiday dreams. Betsy, I love that idea. My question is, would it be confusing for you when we have a holiday blend to have holiday and holiday dreams? So maybe sugar plum dreams. I don't know. So many things. Anyway, is this not the cutest box? So what I don't know. I might make another Thanksgiving Advent and put it in here. Yep, blueberry. Kendra, we've had some requests for blueberry tea, and so that's something that we tried a few times in the past. It hasn't worked how we wanted, but we've had some requests, so we're going back to looking at it again. We're at the beginning stages. It takes a while. We don't rush our blends. We really like to play, and then sometimes we get into trouble because we really want to have a blend. So I'm hoping to have I'm hoping that next weekend I'm able to get my samples out to my tasters for the plum tea. Betsy's thinking about it. Thanks for letting me know. Like, that's my only thought. I love that name. I'm just like, I just worry that people will get one and think and get the wrong tea. But next week we're going to create the tea ourselves. And next week I'm hoping to get the plum blend out to the testers so that we have plenty of time to get back and adjust anything that needs to be adjusted. I almost sent the first one out and then we weren't happy with it in the end when we tried it again the next morning. And so I was like, no, we're not doing it. So this one will be completely different. We've gone completely back to the drawing board, but I would love for that plum tea to be available October, November, and December. So those would be the 3 months. What? Pear tea. Let me see. Dancing Dreams. Ooh, I like that. I like that, Stephanie. Dancing Dreams. Do we have any teas with pear? Yes, Stephanie. Yes, Kendra, we do. Starlight Pear comes out in January, and there's typically, it's also in our Advent tins, and that is also in like our ornament blends and some specialty blends like that. Or if you do, when I have a custom tea sampler like I had at the last Brew and Buy, you could request that. But that comes out in January. Starlight Pear comes out in January. And that one. In fact, we are picking up the pears to freeze dry for that tea next week. In like 2 days. In 2 days. We've got, how many pounds do we got? 40 pounds? I think we got, well, they're not all for you all. Sorry. I think there's 20 pounds to be freeze dried for teas. And I think the other 20 pounds are for us to can and make jams. So there you go. But Starlight Pear, that is a really nice light blend. Has anyone mixed Appealing and Starlight Pear? So funny story about that, Kendra. One of the things that we thought about was that apple pear mixture, but Starlight Pear actually has apple and pear in it. It's apple, pear, and it's not vodka. There's another ingredient in there, but it's actually an apple pear blend. So you're right there, Kendra. I'll have to try and remember to, let's see. I don't know anybody who still has some that's a friend that could let you try it. But yeah, Starlight Pear, that comes out in January. That's like a January, February, March blend. So
unless you know people.
Unless you know people, and then sometimes you can be convinced. Diane says maybe Ancient Green Dragon as a base for the blueberries. That is definitely, you'd have vanilla in there and you'd have some jasmine and the lighter, sweeter green tea. That would definitely be a possibility. That would be a possibility. So, but anyway, that's some of the stuff that's in the works. I don't know exactly what this, but like, look at that. Like, I can't resist these things. I tell you, I go in the store, and then I really shouldn't walk down the box aisle because then I'm like, and then when the box aisle is 50% off, I'm telling you, it's just really hard. But it's fun because we can have some dips, and I might just turn this into a different, this could be a custom tea. I don't know. It might be an Advent, anything. Yeah, it's a green tea, apple, and pear blend. That's what I thought. I knew there was one other ingredient. I kept thinking it was a green tea. I think the green tea is from Japan in that one. So yeah, it's just a simple, really light, again, very, very light. There you go. So any other questions on anything I've talked about? Milk tea versus a tea latte. Everybody really good with that now? Look at that. Is that not cool? You look at all those different colors. Just so cool. Kim is porting the tea there. Kim, I told Bill I want to be a tea person, and oh my gosh, that's funny. That's funny. But if you have the right tea, Kendra, that that appeals to your palate, that works. I mean, and I know you love appealing, so it helps. And Kendra is Kendra is so much fun. She is one of the 2 people that has listened to me in about talking about like why Macintosh apples are like the best apple and other apples just don't compare in my brain. And then I brought her back some when we went to New England. Was it 2 years ago? It was like 2.5 years ago when we went, and we brought them right from the orchard back. I brought her and Vicky want some, and then they tried them and they're like, okay, now I get it. Now I know why Lisa's obsessed with the Macintosh apples. Let's see. That's all good. It's all good. Kim, what you really need is just a small tea shelf to add to the cabinet. That's all. Use your deluxe tins and your tins, and you put it on the shelf, and then it's on the wall, and it doesn't take up any cabinet space. That's what I did. That's what I do. Anyway, so any other questions about milk tea, tea latte, or tea in general? I appreciate you coming. Are you guys liking the fun facts that I've been throwing in there about everything? I'm trying to, like, I don't want to be like, all right, here's the black tea and here's what we can do with the black tea. And I want to make it kind of like fun and interesting and different things like that. So, like, I didn't know that until I was looking into it. Like the boba tea happened to be tapioca pearls that fell into the milk tea, and then they were like, oh, this is really cool, and now it's a $2 billion industry. So, oh, good. I'm glad you're loving the fun facts, Diane. That's awesome. Yeah, Kim, see, the problem is the large tea shelf should just be for tea. Coffee and lemonade should not have a place on that shelf. It's just my personal opinion. I know the handy dandy assistant would disagree. He thinks coffee needs its own area. Oh my goodness. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks for joining me, everybody. I appreciate it. I look forward to next week. Feel free to reach out. I'll see which had the most votes, the most. It's the end of the day. Can you tell? Can you really tell it's the end of the day for me? I got up at like 1 this morning, so I'm operating on like virtually no sleep, and he just stole one of the teas. Are you going to taste the other one too? You might as well steal them both at this point. Anyway, the black tea, the green tea, or if we make an herbal. See, now I have my milk tea back. Okay, you take the latte. Let me know. But if I don't hear a definitive answer, we'll just have all three out, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make some tea next week. I don't know if you think about an ingredient you really want in there. Let me know if we have it available. We can. I will tell you, fruit wise, what I have available right now, or what I will have available for next Sunday. I will have strawberries. I will have peaches. I will have pears. I will have pineapple and mango. I will have apple. And I will have plum. We may even have dragon fruit. And we may have the maybes are apricot and dragon fruit. So those are the two maybes, depending. It's just a matter of timing and everything else that's going on. So those are the fruits that I would have, and different things like that. So keep that in mind as you think about next week. You're like, hey, of those fruits, we really want this. Or if you want to stay away from fruits and you're like, I really want to try and use rosemary. Rosemary is a really beneficial spice, and it makes great teas. Blends really, really well with herbals in green teas, things like that. So if you got a favorite spice or a favorite fruit, feel free to let me know, and we will see about incorporating them. Other than that, I wish you all a wonderful week. I understand it's supposed to be cooler where I live, so if you live near me, y'all can enjoy the colder weather. I'm just going to start to wear a sweater. That's all. All right, everybody. I will see you later. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Kendra says fruits. I saw it.